All right, and welcome back, guys, to Bedouin Banter. I'm Khalid Dosli. Whoa, that was a bit loud on the first start. The gain is too much, but guys, we are back into the show. We do have a new guest on the podcast. We have Wa'ad Al Saeedi, who's here with us. She's a software engineer and somebody with an interesting backstory. Apparently, some military experiments as well. We'll get to that. Starting off strong with the conspiracy theories, and as always, because of that, I'm joined with
Ahmed Matrouk.
And the OJ.
The OJ. Is that the OJ? Now, do you have to do that because now OJ Simpson's on Twitter? Like you have to give up your...
You know, I have to give it up now.
I tried to find his
He's
account.
back.
I couldn't find him for some reason.
You couldn't?
No.
It's not that hard
It's
to
a full
find.
thing.
I found like a bunch of parody accounts.
He still he threatens the parody accounts. There's actually a photo, like an image conversation you can see of him and the guy who does his main parody account, and he's threatening the guy to like let go of the handle on Twitter. It's the funniest thing because he actually says, you know, I'm gonna get my way eventually or something, and then he'll send the emoji of a knife. Like you actually like actual OJ's. Like I'm real OJ.
Is he making light of it, or is it like one of his? Everyone knows I did it, but I got away with it.
I think he just got used to like doing it because he knows he can get away with it. Like the double meaning of every time doing a joke, and
he
also
got away with it once. It's like he didn't get me the first time.
We still don't know that.
No, but they did get him on the casino thing, though. He tried to steal back his own memorabilia. That was 9 years for that. That was hilarious. Yeah, not the thing you actually did that everybody knows you did. No, the second thing.
That is funny. I didn't know about that.
Right, so that is it for Twitter handles. So let's segue from that Twitter handle into yours, Wa'ad. Do you have one to share or anything on social media you want people to kind of head towards? Just doing an early plug so I don't forget about it.
It's at Challenged Robot.
At Challenge Drobot.
Yeah, and my Instagram has an 89 after it.
Okay, cool. And Wa'ad, can you give us a little bit of a kind of an insight into your background? We started off early on with some Twitter stuff and some earlier conversations about aliens. We'll get to that. That's a different story.
That's number one.
Yeah, we'll get to the hashtag. Get to there.
You're going to have to keep count.
Yeah. So at least share with us your own background and what you've been doing.
All right. So I'm born and raised in Oman. And I did my studies in software engineering. I did my bachelor's there. And I worked in the government for 2 years.
Right.
And funny enough, I met someone on Instagram, not looking for a relationship. And now I'm married to a Bahraini guy, and I've been living here for 3 years.
Okay.
It still feels so surreal.
See, online relationships work.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes you luck
sometimes
out.
they
Okay.
work.
Was that before Tinder?
I wasn't on Tinder.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't...
Isn't it rude to ask? It's like, were you on Tinder, yo?
No, and it wasn't like, hey, I'm looking for someone. It was, he literally asked me about protein pancakes or something. It was
that's how you
something
get in.
gym-related.
Yeah,
That's how you do it.
Very smooth, very
it's a
smooth.
very smart, slick, sneaky start, you know?
I don't know nothing about protein pancakes. I'm an average Joe. I like regular pancakes.
You're more like, what up, yo?
Yeah, exactly.
Matrouk here. Have you seen my stand-up, yo?
Sorry. Funny enough, he came to Oman, I think 9 or 13 days after we started talking. And then he visited once a month, every month. And that's how that happened.
He's romantic.
You know something? I'm actually surprised by the amount of Bahrainis that actually get married to Omanis. I'm not saying it's anything.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
There's a big connection there.
There's a big connection. Like my friend just got engaged to a Omani girl that he met when he was studying. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's because one, they're just as nice almost, but nicer than people that already exist on this island. And then two, we have a very similar sized economy.
Is it that or is it
Ours is better.
Is it that or is it the curiosity? You know, you hear stories about Omanis like since you were a kid, you know, with the flying
fair enough.
You know
or
what's
whatever.
funny? My husband was like, I bet it's Omani magic. And I was like, if it was Omani magic, I wouldn't be married to you.
Everything
It's so powerful you wouldn't know,
it's
would
like
you?
these older women, their husbands gravitate towards women from other nationalities.
Yeah.
Mashour, he's been black magic and
So
whatever.
the North African magic is stronger than the Omani magic? Or what is stronger?
It's nothing is stronger.
Like
man.
if I'm building an MTG Magic the Gathering deck list with spells from Oman versus spells from North Africa, from Maghreb wala shay, what's stronger?
North Africa, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You sure about that? I think Omanis have that quality, you know.
I feel like they do. I feel like they have like the precision magic.
Yeah.
No, see, Omanis don't have to work as hard because they're familiar with the territory.
Right.
North Africans, شوي غير.
Difficult,
Their
difficult.
magic has to reach further as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but at least when it comes to relationships, you believe they're powerful in illusion and charm, I'd guess, right? In that
It's
sense?
hard work.
It is, yeah. But for you, when you're talking about Omanis in that kind of cultural sense, being now tied into this Omani side of your family,
Yeah.
do you feel like you're much more than just your life in Bahrain, where you started off, because you lived abroad as well, right? You had different experiences living in multiple places.
Yeah. I think the sum of it, or what I came to peace with, is I'm always going to be nostalgic to something.
Right.
So whether I'm in Bahrain or in Oman, I'm going to miss a street in DC or a train in Malaysia.
Right.
When you're experiencing new things deeply, you really connect with them and they feel like home. So I think that's how I got over me moving here. I was like, I'm gonna miss Oman, but I'm gonna miss so many things anyway.
Yeah.
And I started accepting living in Bahrain.
There's a lot of people that accept that the idea of home is just that. It's an idea.
Yeah.
It's an abstract. It's not a physical object. It's not a house. It's not a family member. It's where
Right,
your
yeah.
mind.
It is. I feel like it's more in tune with culture. So, like the stuff we were just joking about now with Oman and all the people we know from Oman. I have also from my wife, her in-laws. My in-laws. They're a bunch of them all from Oman. They all live there. They're part of the culture there. I've visited more than once, and they feel like they're this culture that opens up my breadth of experience and my background and what I see and what I converse about, what I talk about with other people. So I feel like that's the definitive advantage you have as somebody who has lived overseas in different places. You would say.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how
it gives you a perspective.
How do you use that perspective, Yanni? Does it come into your work? Is it more about family? Is it more about talking with friends? How does that work for you?
I hope it makes me a more interesting person than someone who hasn't been anywhere.
Yeah.
And I do think it's sad to be born, study, work, and die like within 20 kilometers.
I totally agree.
I completely agree. Yeah.
Where was it? There's a in Californication. One of my favorite lines
Okay.
is like one of their teachers back in school. He was like, "You never die further than 5 miles from where you were born."
Yeah.
And that is
Heard that somewhere
that really fucks with
It's
people.
the saddest thing.
Yeah.
It is.
But going back to perspective, it made me realize that not everyone feels that way. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. They don't know what they're missing.
Yeah, well, they don't, for them, their world is enough as it is. And some
Yeah.
people don't want to expand further because it just feels like it'll be complicated or confusing to have so many things in my life. I understand where they come from, but at the same time, I was only able myself to change aspects of my personality because I traveled, because I did different
Yeah.
experiences
Or
and
lived
different
alone.
things.
I mean,
exactly.
I'm pretty sure you interacted with people that kind of share the same track in life.
Yeah.
How hard was it for them to sort of get out of that comfort zone? Because I know as Khalijis, we're very into our comfort zone.
Yeah.
How hard was it for them?
First of all, I feel like I'm surrounded with these people. It's like we vibe.
Okay.
So you find them more interesting, you vibe with them. Their experience of leaving, like what happened to my sister was getting a scholarship and having to live 5 years alone.
Yeah.
What happened with my husband is, I think you have to overcome some kind of adversity to open your mind.
Okay.
Like maybe that's the advantage of it.
Oh yeah, I've heard parents talking about this, like whether they should allow their kids to have adversity and challenges,
Yeah.
just so they can grow into like more fleshed out. I'd say more balanced people, more wholesome people. I guess.
I think to grow to a version of them that's closer to their potential.
Yeah.
I don't think we reach that as humans, or most of us don't.
But we discussed this before. There is a real longing to leave. Our home country as Bahrainis, especially. We always say we're going to leave, but we never leave, right?
Well, it depends. Those that have like the ability through their jobs tend to see if they can find an opportunity. I know a bunch of people that are always looking out. Like even if they don't find the job, they're always looking out kind of for an option to leave. I don't know if that's the same experience you've had.
I don't think that's the Bahraini experience. I think it's the human experience. We're supposed to wander. Borders, nationalities, passports are all new things to us as humans when you think about all the time that's passed.
No, I totally agree. I think especially now that the world is getting more globalized, it's getting much easier for people to step out of their comfort zone. Like my mother was talking to me about when I used to study in the UK, and she was like, it's much easier to get in contact with you guys because there's WhatsApp and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So we don't feel like, you're away that much. While she was talking about my dad when he used to study abroad, like they had to make a phone call a month or send letters.
That's why I
out of my dad didn't even there was no luxury of phones back then.
Yeah.
He wrote letters.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd think it's easier to move around now, but I feel there are more red tapes than there used to be.
Really, how so though?
I think people wandered freely before their fear of terrorism and
Right.
having to apply for visas.
Well, like, you mean before borders or do you mean before passports?
Not before passports. I feel before our fear of other. I feel like social media and openness also made us scared of other people.
Right. So we
People-
only knew.
Is it scared, or is it the fact that we're so exposed to this on a daily basis we don't feel like we have to go? It's just there on the phone.
That's probably it. Like, I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there that don't really like get to experience life because they're like, oh, I could just see it through my Instagram. Look at her.
Yeah.
She's out there. She's traveling. Like, that's why there's so many like influencers that are popular for their travel.
Well,
because,
yeah, I mean, it's almost like a postmodern syndrome. We were talking about this when you were in the US
Yeah.
last month, and you were sending me a picture, and you were like, "Oh, this looks like a Windows screensaver."
Yeah.
I'm like, it's so interesting that you're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
and do
and
you
you
think of
think of
this
it as a picture.
Yeah, it's just so interesting, and that's how
the
the
case
world
with
is.
all surreal experiences. I think we start looking at them through a lens.
But it's one thing, you know, when you're living in a city, when you're living in a concrete jungle,
Right.
the you know, longing to be one with nature. I know this is very hippie-esque, but I get this. You know,
Yeah.
I get this. يعني خلاص I'm done with Bahrain. Like
Yeah.
I've been here for like, if I'm here for an extended period of time between traveling, I get really sick of it because I just want to go and see trees. That's all I
Yeah.
want to see.
Yeah.
Zara, open fields.
Yeah, that
and
makes
whatever.
a huge difference, by the way. It's the one thing that you feel like relaxes you. For some reason, there's a tension about being in the desert. I don't know what it is. You're just slightly... I feel like there's some biological like syndrome in our body
You
that
never
makes us...
see a fully clear sky. It's always dusty.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, I think
something
it's like-
weird. Like,
Yeah, it's like the fog for people who are living in London.
Yeah.
And they want to leave.
Yes,
I
yeah,
think it's
yeah,
the
yeah.
dust for us, to be honest.
I'm a firm believer, honestly, and if I was going to go with something paranormal, like in something otherworldly about different places, because I lived in Florida, I firmly believe certain areas have like a zone, like something attached to the soil, like something bad happened at one point. You know what I mean? Yeah, some freaking curse. Because Florida is so many crazy people for absolutely no reason. Like 3 blocks or 2 blocks from where I lived, somebody's like the cannibal guy that was on the news, this homeless
Florida
guy.
man.
Hey,
all Florida
is
man,
like freaking original Florida man, bro. He bit off this other homeless
Oh my
guy's
God.
face. He was on bath
remember
salts.
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
that story was huge. And there was
Yeah.
like pranks that came on after it happened. People were pretending like it was the zombie apocalypse and all this other stuff. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I firmly believe there's something in the soil that makes people crazy there. I was like some Cthulhu demon, something's buried like miles underneath.
No, but do you remember how blue the sky is in Florida?
Yeah, I do. That is the one thing that is a crazy like dichotomy.
that
you
makes
see.
up for the
Yeah,
crazy
I
people.
feel
Yeah.
that's your escape. You just look up.
That is true. That is
Yeah.
true. In that sense, there's that difference.
There is a certain beauty in looking at a night sky and seeing the stars because
Yeah.
you can never experience that
Yeah.
in Bahrain. And Morocco, where I live, it's about 45 minutes away from the city. It's next to a village, and very very clean air.
Yeah.
It's all grass, very green. At night, you'd look up and you see stars, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
I remember I was there when Mars was visible to the naked eye.
Oh, that's nice.
That was one
That was a huge
one of
thing
the
at the
10
time,
defining moments of my life.
I can imagine because that's the natural beauty you'll find. Even if you're going in Saudi or someplace nearby, you can actually travel out to. You'll see those clear skies.
Yeah, but Saudi, yeah.
You can, and then that connection with nature. If you're out in
Yeah.
the desert in Saudi or somewhere, you feel that connection and you feel normal again. You feel weirdly relaxed and healthy. You sleep better. For some reason, when we're in this concrete slab, it's like the same effect I was talking about in Florida. People are clenched up. The heat, you can feel it through concrete, through granite. You feel it like just building up this
Everyone's all
pressure.
tensed up. In Morocco, they're chilled out people.
Yeah.
They're really, really chilled out.
I think the weather has a lot to do with it as well.
It
I don't
does,
know if
yeah.
it's a biological thing that we have this yearning to. Oh, I want to go into nature. Is it something that
I think
feel
it
it's
is.
like deeply rooted?
It
in us?
must be. It must be. If
Yeah.
you see green, there's something that attracts us to green. We definitely like head towards. Don't give me that look, man.
Forget about greenery, even the beach,
Even the beach.
Even the beach, 100%. So speaking of beach, we come back to one thing that perfectly segues here. Do you feel like you lived in Oman for a while, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Oman, very similar economy as Bahrain, very similar limitations. You could say even more limited in the pace of, let's say, progress or growth economically. Okay, do you feel like in Oman at least you have the nature? This is what I wanted to tie it back into. There, you have the mountains, you have the beaches, you have the beautiful seas, the nature, and all this other stuff. Does it come into effect, or do you feel like you still want to go out and...
That's the first thing I missed when I moved here. We used to just pick up food and go to the beach and eat. Just like
You can do that, right?
Yeah, and it's clean, it's nice, it's quiet.
Yeah.
يعني the simple things
Hey,
that
you can do this in Bahrain. You can go to Bahar Karbabat.
Oh man, I went there.
عشان شنو عشان يطلع لك فار
Yeah.
Nature, man. It's
And
don't you want
there's
to
so much litter there, it's crazy.
I know, it's
Yeah.
horrible.
But anyways, and then on weekends you drive 3 or 4 hours and you're either amongst sand dunes or you're in a mountain.
Or a
Everything is
wadi
around
or
you.
something, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I feel like maybe we are having the same struggles when it comes to finances, but I feel like Omanis are more happy.
You think so? Because of their cultural relaxation, or do you feel like because they have that environmental advantage?
No, I think because they're treated well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a lot of يعني speaking of beauty spots, there's a lot of beauty spots in the UAE as well.
Yeah.
On the road to Fujairah,
Yeah.
في منطقة I think it's called Khorfakan. And it's all
It
like
sounds like you made that up.
no, seriously.
It sounds like a dwarf dungeon.
Is it close to Kazakhstan?
I swear, it
I
sounds
swear to God, it's there.
I promise you, it sounds like a dwarven dungeon in the Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? Welcome to the temple of Kharbazan.
We wouldn't know if he actually made that up. What's it
No.
called again?
Khorfakan.
Khurfakan.
Khor means like a mini sea.
Yeah.
So the area is the other one. Yeah, and it's Khor Fakan.
See?
I believe you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it sounds like a
Not
dwarven
lying,
dungeon.
Okay.
It does sound funny.
The Balrog will come from what is it again?
I didn't believe it. Khorfakan.
Khurfakan.
I didn't believe it. It's a good title for a movie.
Yeah,
is.
Sultan. Can you check that?
Oh, I'm looking that up.
Jamie, pull that up. Pull it up.
But yeah, there are a lot of يعني, even Emiratis living in Fujairah and whatever. They're from what I saw, they're more chilled out than Emiratis living in Dubai.
Yeah,
They're less xenophobic.
Right.
Honestly, يعني,
that's interesting.
يعني in في Dubai, you interact with يعني,
You feel like there's more xenophobia in Dubai, Annie? Is that what
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
yes, in Dubai, يعني, from what I saw,
Do you notice you're saying xenophobia, right?
yeah.
Okay. Just go with it.
Xenophobia, as in a group of people that don't want influence from the outside world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
صح?
And
Locals there and
All right,
living in
just
Dubai.
Never mind. I wanted you to say aliens. You didn't say it. Never mind.
I'm not. You're not tricking
No,
me.
I'm not. Just go.
But such that يعني, they're very
Integrated, xenophobic,
yeah.
and yeah.
Locals in Dubai.
Yani, are you saying they're isolated in their own communities? They're,
Yes.
Yeah. So nobody interacts.
Maybe because in Dubai there are more expats, so they feel that anger towards them.
Yes.
That they're taking my jobs. Anger.
No, not that. Definitely not that.
I think
What would you
part of it is probably because they did the waves of like people immigrating to Dubai who are expats. It came so fast, so quickly because of a fast, quick growing economy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And-
insane. There are 15% Emiratis. I
Yeah,
think.
it's a huge number of people that just manage to like go into one area in such a quick time, and you're gonna find that a big pocket of these expats are always gonna flock towards others that they know of their same culture, same kind. So you end up with these pocketed
Lobbies.
bubbles. Yeah.
Yeah, يعني Emiratis are very, very nice people. I've interacted, and I lived in Sharjah, and I used to go to Ajman, I used to go to Fujairah and Ras Al Khaimah. Very nice people.
Yeah.
But for some reason in Dubai, very reserved.
Yeah,
Very, very
Yeah.
reserved.
They're keeping to their own traditions, their own networks.
But Dubai is depressing, man.
Is it?
It's
Is it? You wouldn't give up like at least live there for 2 years if
I
you
would
It
not.
has a Vegas vibe.
It does, right?
Yeah.
I would not live in Dubai.
you have the money.
I would go there for like a week or a weekend or
Yeah.
whatever, and that's it.
Yeah.
Just like Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a very
What
good
is it
example.
about Dubai that changes people? Like I noticed Miami, it makes people plastic no matter what. It's like going to the UK, you're going to be influenced by football, right?
Yeah.
Miami, you're going to be influenced by fashion people and weirdos. Just
Just
two things.
Dubai, you have to be filthy rich.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
That is the thing with Dubai. Yani.
Yeah, يعني احنا when we'd get our allowance the beginning of the month, we'd go to like clubs and whatever.
Yeah.
And نفلها. But the middle of the month would be in Deira.
Okay.
Do you know where Deira is? Basically the commercial part of Dubai where all the companies are based and
right. So industry.
شنها Bahrain في Dubai, basically.
Okay.
It's like Bahrain in Dubai. It's really sort of cheap and whatever.
Okay. All right. So industry, you would say, is there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough. So how do we get into debate? What was the main segue into this?
He was talking about Khurfakan.
Oh yeah, Khurfakan, nature, and all
It's
this.
pretty nice though.
Yeah.
Looks like a.
So if we're getting back into it, right? You've shared with us, Wa'ad, on your background, your travel. You've also lived abroad, right?
Yeah.
What has been the number one thing that defines the maybe would you categorize it as freedom or more like an ability to express yourself at any time using your own resources? What is it about living abroad that defines it, that makes it interesting for you?
You don't feel like everyone's watching you.
Okay.
You can do what you want. You can be who you are. Even with like hair colors or piercings or whatever it is, tattoos, the way you dress, you can just be. You don't feel like your neighbor is gonna tell your mom what's wrong with your daughter.
You're saying this as a woman, okay? And I get that, you know, women fil Khalij, they're kind of, you know,
Even men.
I think to a certain extent even men. I don't think it's
in Bahrain, for me, no, I don't feel like anyone's watching. But when I lived in Sharjah, from the moment I landed up until I left, I always felt like someone had their eyes on me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Why?
I don't know.
What were you
I was being. I just felt like I was being watched
by the government?
I don't know. No, that's all I'm gonna say right now. I just felt like I was being watched.
Because my sister was living in Florida for 5 years.
Yeah.
And she was sent there as a scholarship with a group of Omanis / Khalijis.
Oh, where in Florida?
Melbourne.
Oh, okay.
So she always felt like she's in a little Khalij in USA. And whenever I'd go there and would go to New York or DC, she felt more freedom in the way she dresses or wearing makeup or...
Because she wasn't part of the Khaliji.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the freedoms traveling gives you. You don't feel watched all the time. And it's so creepy when you think about it.
It's true. It is that so many people know you is an important thing. I felt like the one thing I loved about city life, even when in Miami or London or anywhere else, in city life, you can really make mistakes. You can experiment. You can do whatever.
Yeah.
You feel like you're never going to see this person again. There's that advantage to that.
That's a really good feeling. I remember that.
Really good feeling because you can try things.
Not a lot of people get that. Yani khasatan students who go abroad, Khalijis, they come back, they're the same people.
Because they stick with Khalijis.
They stick with the same
bubble.
circle.
It's the bubble. It's the bubble does it for everybody.
Well, I had a group of you know, my classmates who went to the UK to study, and I kept on telling them, like, guys, why are you hanging out with people from you know your region?
From your school.
From your school.
That's another one.
Thank you. From your school. Like, come on, go out.
Nothing's gonna change this way. You're not gonna. You're not gonna get out of your comfort zone. You're not.
For fuck's sake, I was in Sharjah. I was in Sharjah, and I still had a United Nations group of friends. I had Egyptians, Moroccans, Mexicans, Serbians, Canadians.
I did not hear a single black person in that.
You're
racist human being.
Well, they weren't in my bed.
Scum of the earth.
You trying to turn this against me? Okay, trying.
A single Nigerian. A single one. Right. So, sorry, getting back into this. We were talking about that diversity of experience you get when you're overseas, when you're meeting people, getting out of your bubble, and you're also expanding it. Now, that's the college life, right? But there's a very big difference between going there in university when you're in your scholarship years or whatever it is, and a very big difference to moving there and immigrating. That was what I was trying to do when I was in the States. I want to see if it's possible for me to continue work there, to see if I can make a career happen there. And that was a different challenge altogether. And let's say there's a benefit for living in this kind of economy in Bahrain where people are a bit more relaxed, let's say work-wise, because it's easier for you to compete than overseas. And I can only imagine. And you've gone through this yourself.
I still find Bahrain very competitive compared to Oman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's so competitive. Like when I moved here, I was like, it's very Americanized. Their work ethics, their work hours, what's required of them.
Well,
it's not the case in Oman.
You're right. We were Americanized in terms of time, in terms of punctuality.
Yeah.
We're still very much Khaliji
getting
in
paid
that
overtime.
It's not a 40-hour work week right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do agree. We are very much Westernized.
Yeah, like my husband has 3 diplomas, master. He's doing his master's, bachelor's, and I feel like if he had all of that in Oman, he would be at a much higher position than he is here.
Okay.
So here you require so many professional degrees. They don't ask you for that many there.
So degrees in business.
Yeah, they go based on your education,
Right.
not extra professional degrees. So regular university years.
Master's, PhD. How white are you?
In my opinion, يعني, in Bahrain, that's a very old school way of thinking. And Khaliji Jam'ah, he will get more, a university graduate will get more, a higher position, a higher salary, and whatever.
Yeah.
But, nowadays, especially, I have a very, very passionate opinions about people who study marketing.
Right.
You don't need a university degree to be a good marketer.
Yeah.
You have to be a person with experience, street smarts, how to talk with
And you're
people
saying
and
the most
whatever.
important thing these days has been work experience. That is the number one thing.
It is, in my opinion, if we shift towards work experience to qualify you for a job rather than a university degree, you'd see a lot of people getting more
But
jobs.
don't you feel that's different if you have like your master's or you have your PhD or whatever it is you're getting on?
Well, I think
higher level
I think in
education.
Bahrain specifically, it's not gonna matter that much. 'Cause I've literally had a boss that I used to work for literally tell me to my face that
No.
you getting a master's degree is not gonna get you a job because you're gonna be overqualified.
Did he have a chart where he could like measure your skin? And see how, no, sorry.
But that's not...
He did that after he told me.
Listen, I just make a joke because somebody showed me I didn't believe it. I swear to God, I didn't believe it, Tiana, until somebody showed me. But somebody was like showing me. I was like, oh, do you want to see a list of all the CEOs in Bahrain and the big companies? I won't mention the names of the companies or anything else, but I swear to God, he's going through them on the internet. He's like, see this one? White CEO, white CEO, white.
But I don't think you guys are saying the same thing. Ahmed is saying at some fields you shouldn't need to study. And what you're saying is even if you study, you won't get any progress.
Well, it depends on the field, no?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the...
But regardless of the field, I feel like your degree is like a driving license.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could be a Formula One driver without a driving license, and then you're driving on the street and a cop pulls you over.
Yeah,
you're
and
like, but I'm a famous
have
driver.
to practice it. Yeah.
I'm a
You're
firm...
still going to have to own something that says, I'm good at this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You
exactly.
need some kind of credentials.
Because it qualifies you for a salary. That's it.
But
Yeah,
you're
for a higher
saying,
salary.
Matruk, you're saying nobody's actually looking at that when they really want to hire somebody. They're looking at the experience. That's what you're...
No, he's saying
saying
that's
they
how it
should.
should be.
They should.
That's how it should be. Okay.
Yeah, they should. And in certain jobs, you need a degree.
Yeah.
You really do. Matter if you're
A doctor.
an engineer, a pilot, or whatever.
I
You
hope
need
so.
a degree.
I hope you do.
Okay.
I really hope you do.
That's when it comes to business and finance and whatever.
Yeah. You want the
Yeah,
experience more than anything else. But then some kids can't get the experience. What do you do then? Yani you're young. You have the qualification. You've done the work. You've done everything.
But like in Bahrain, there's a shortage of jobs, but there's no shortage of internships.
Do you feel like
Yeah.
not enough Bahrainis work in Saudi, and they should?
Maybe.
Here's a good question for you guys.
I mean, if they pay for the gas, why not?
I think Bahrainis that want to work in Saudi do find jobs.
I do think so. I think a lot of them actually seek jobs outside.
Yeah, the
Like,
ones
just
that
somewhere
I've
in
seen, they seem to find jobs quite regularly.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that they like the job. They feel like it is competitive. It's a different, obviously, task to go over the causeway and do that.
But I think the benefits outweigh the going over there, because I know a lot of people are getting paid really decent salaries just working in Saudi.
Right.
Like in compared to Bahrain.
How is it as a you said you're a computer software engineer, right? Historically speaking, Khaliji, IT has been a male-dominated field.
Yeah.
And then, so are there any pressures to you?
Yeah. I recently passed a few job interviews at the same place, and then they decided not to hire me because I'm a woman. And this is in Oman, not in Bahrain.
Is that the reason they gave you, or
Yes, it is. And then
What, you mean like to your face? Like that was the...
one of the IT people there is my friend, so he told me about their discussion.
Okay.
And then he said,
That's
well,
fucked up, though.
if you were my wife, I wouldn't want you to have the same hours as me. Because as a woman...
that is bold?
Yeah.
That is bold.
What an ass!
Yeah, and he was saying it as in, I'm a really nice person, I'm looking out for you.
Wow.
Yeah. And I believe he believes that was what's best for me. But I knew the requirements of the job when I applied.
Yeah.
And also in my previous job, I was the only female in the department.
Okay.
It was also weird for them. They were always offering to carry my things or help me with the wiring.
Did you ever reject them? Like refuse to be like, no, just leave me alone?
Always. Do you ever?
It's just
so
keep,
honestly.
they keep coming at her.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know, I was having a discussion with my sister, and she was like, you know, she's kind of feministy, whatever, and she was like, you know, you men, you have your egos, right? And she's like, I'd rather work in a place full of men because they'll eat each other alive, and I'll just be the one quietly doing my work.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
That's a very good point.
That's true.
That's how I felt when I was working there.
Yeah.
The men were just going at it. Who's supposed to pick up the phone? Why is this late? And I was just doing
It was just
my work
alpha
quietly.
dogging around, and they're rolling
Yeah.
across the tables.
They all want the same promotion.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think that gives you an advantage over them? Like did your CEO or boss or whatever consider you for a promotion more than he considered them, or was it?
Only if I slept with him.
Oh,
It was very sexist.
is this an actual like offer that was like on the table for you? What are we joking?
Yeah,
here?
he did make an advance.
You are no.
Yeah, and
No,
that's
he
when
didn't.
I quit. Yeah.
This is a spicy episode.
This is
I'll put it this way.
this is some real life investigation into the darker deep depths of
Chris
Yeah,
Harris shit
yeah.
right there.
He asked me to the cinema, and he's been complaining about his wife
You
for
are
a few
joking.
weeks before that. That she's always busy, and she goes to these lessons, and for some reason he thought that was okay. When it happened, I actually had to transfer from my department to another building in a different area. But the good thing is they were picking the good software engineers to move there because it's a bigger project.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to see him again until I asked for my resignation to move here.
So
no.
in that sense, you
wow.
were recognized for your efforts.
Yeah, I was.
To a bigger
And you were lucky
department.
enough to get away from him for a while until you had to submit your own resignation to him.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Hypothetically speaking, would you have been able to report him somehow?
This is the real question. How often does this happen, and how do people actually report it?
Very
in Bahrain,
often.
Yani? I'm not surprised. I'm
Yeah.
honestly not surprised to hear this.
Especially in government.
Is it really in really hushed tones, this whole workplace harassment? And for in the West, it's very much publicized.
No, obviously
Yeah.
it's a bigger story there, and it's a different kind of environment. People
West is very much publicized.
yeah, but there's also a legal framework for it. There's a whole thing with HR. There's a whole aspect to it that's not
just
being applied here. Yani.
I think they're not afraid of getting blamed or getting their reputation tainted like
Yeah.
it is here. Like this person, the daughter of this person from this family got
Right.
asked out or harassed or touched or whatever. And it's not handled internally.
Yeah. That's definitely been an obvious issue that you don't have a lot of transparency and you don't have avenues for people to communicate the problem in the first place. So how are you going to have even people coming forward? Now, the question I want to ask about that is, what is there another thing that plays a part in why that happens? Like, do you actually see, for example, women that allow it to happen or are complicit? They're kind of like going along with it, or making it seem like that's okay. And you would probably stand and say no and stop somebody, but somebody else would be like, oh, that's fine. That's how they are.
Think of it the same way it happens in the movie industry.
Right.
You're really powerless. Even if it was the other way around, if it was a male employee and a female boss,
Right.
it's very difficult to say no if you want to advance in your career. And people can't think long term that I'm going to have this thing haunt me and believe myself that I'm not worthy of the job. I
Yeah,
only got
yeah.
it because of this thing. It has way more repercussions than saying no. But the issue is when you can't report this behavior, there's nothing stopping them.
Yeah.
There's you said when a woman is the boss, when the roles are reversed, guys get really, really frustrated. Another boss is a woman.
Really?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
always call them bitchy.
Always
wow.
mad.
Yeah.
I had a very interesting. I read a very interesting article that says even women prefer to have male bosses.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just.
Yeah.
It's a very
Because we're
mind-boggling.
taught to compete with each other. And then as a woman in a typically male role, she might have to be tougher just to be taken seriously. So yeah, they might be bitchy, but it's because of the environment. It's not who they are.
Don't you think it applies to males as well in the workplace for them to be tough to get into like.
Well, this is the thing. Males are more likely to fight for something when they want to be competitive about it, and we are kind of like disciplined at a younger age to want to fight for what we want.
Yeah, but it's expected of them.
Yes,
so it's okay.
Now, here's the question: do you feel like women could stand to be more assertive in the workplace, or is it just that the environment doesn't allow for it, and the environment should allow first, and then women come into the assertion? Yani.
I think it's like an egg and chicken situation.
Okay, all
yeah,
right.
if you are more assertive, it will be normalized. If the environment helps it, you won't have to be that assertive to get your way.
Right.
I think we're just seen as, I don't know, pawns that you can move this person here and this is what's going to happen and you're supposed to look pretty and smile. Like, you're not the main player in your life.
You're more like an accessory to already an existing environment.
Yeah.
You're always a
expect
side
you-
character.
to play a role, a specific
an
role.
NPC.
Yeah.
So,
Somebody else's video game. That's true.
You handed in your resignation to move to Bahrain. Now you're in Bahrain.
Did he try like one last time? He's like, oh, my wife, she's so into these violin lessons. Please, you don't understand these violin lessons. They just
No, man. And I was so
destroying my
nice
marriage.
to everyone. I used to get everyone like cookies in the morning and stuff.
wow.
And I think he thought I was flirting with him.
Of course.
Like, look all
yeah,
around
it's
you.
like, oh,
Everyone around you has a cookie as well. And that's not it's a
You know,
literal cookie.
Arab men.
It's so Arabic.
Arab men are the worst at knowing when a girl is
Signs.
flirting or not.
Right?
والله
Yeah.
تبيني
such a-
والله العظيم تبيني
It's a difficult situation, and it'll go on forever. As long it'll go on for as far as their ego can come up with more imaginary situations that could become reality.
delusional.
There's actually a funny situation. My friend was with his friend. They're studying in the UK, and you know how in the UK they're like, "Hi, love, how's it going, love?" Whatever. But this guy, his friend, you know, شوي يعني, he's a bit backwards. Okay.
All right.
So he goes.
That's a good way of putting it.
He goes into like the supermarket, and the cashier says, "All right, bye, love."
Uh-oh.
He freaks out. He goes to his friend. He's like, "Hook, got the love." I was like, he was telling me the story. My eyes were wide open. I was like, "Is this guy really stupid?"
You know what I'm imagining? I'm imagining a little kid like this guy at 12 opening the dictionary to read what sex means. Like that, they look for that
Exactly.
word. You know, it's this idea of a really backwards person.
But you'd be surprised of how many times I heard that story of like Bahrainers, specifically Bahrain is going to the UK and
That's
because people are just so they're nice to
people-
each other there in
exactly.
general, like men and women.
Well, people are just generally more open with each other, and
Yeah.
they're so used to each other that it doesn't
Yeah.
feel that special and weird. And in some aspects, you could say in some old school, maybe like poetic, literary kind of way, oh, it's more romantic that the man is experiencing, you know, like this relationship with women for the first time, and it's all about this like unique thing. But for Westerners, because it's such an everyday thing,
Yeah,
such
it's
a
very
normal
common.
encounter, Yani, you'll find hugging that's normal. You'll find like introductions that are more intimate that are normal.
There are men here who refuse to hug a woman.
Yeah, that's the one I was trying to talk about on the radio.
And by the same logic, there are women here who refuse to shake hands with
Yeah,
men.
I was just gonna say
Yeah,
that.
Which
and I
is-
think that's what kept a lot of men not
Hugging
allowing
women.
not allowing themselves to even
Yeah.
shake hands.
Because you don't want to be the creepy guy.
Yeah.
No, hold on. I have to ask you because we haven't had a woman on the show for a very long time. I have to ask you this question. I've asked it recently on the radio about awkward situations between men and women, especially when you don't know if you're supposed to shake hands,
Yeah.
if you're supposed to kiss on the cheek, or you're supposed to hug, whatever introduction you do. Now, I say that it's the woman's responsibility to initiate
Yes.
and let you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
appropriate, what's not.
Yeah.
And I've had women disagree with me. I've had men disagree with me. I've had women agree with me. Where do you stand on that?
I believe women should initiate if it's a regular situation. But a funny story happened to me. So I've known these guys for about 2 years, and we just got really close. So when I came back from the US, I was supposed to say hi to one of them,
Yeah.
and I texted him beforehand. I'm like, "So do you hug or don't you?"
Wow, that is another level.
Yeah, because I don't want to like. He knows I'm gonna shake his hand at Louis.
Oh yeah, I knew. I didn't have to tell me.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
So yeah, I asked him while he was on his way to say hi. So
Yeah.
do you hug? Because I didn't want to. Yeah.
Could you fill out the survey, please?
Yes.
How to interact with Khaliji women.
That's good though. I mean, it'll be interesting
Yeah.
if a lot of other women did that.
Should women have like a profile? Like, should we have like a normal social profile that says that, like for Instagram?
I hug.
Like hug, no hug, touch, salute. If you want to salute, we're okay with saluting.
I think this problem only exists in the GCC.
What do you mean?
For example, in Lebanon, standard procedure is 3 kisses on the cheek.
Yeah.
With women.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's because they're culturally French.
In Morocco, it's 2 kisses.
Also culturally French. It's not the same thing.
In the States, it's hugging.
No, not necessarily. No. No.
Yeah.
No, not necessarily.
Well,
yeah, UK and US.
You'd most likely find people in the US that would say yes to a hug. That's for sure. But it's not expected, obviously, Annie. Not everybody is just a hugger.
So like a handshake is
handshake,
when you meet the first person
a handshake
for the first
is the most common thing.
Okay, fair enough.
But I think it's changing in Bahrain slowly.
What do you mean?
Like, especially when it comes to handshakes.
Between men and women?
Men and women. I personally, from personal experience, I think it's becoming much easier to.
I feel like it's embarrassing for a woman to try to go for a handshake with a guy, and then the guy kind of says like kind of no, or he does the heart thing, hand to the heart.
It does.
That's embarrassing.
The problem is that
is bullshit.
But hold up, we it's also embarrassing for us if we give the hand and we're trying to shake.
That's why you wait for the lady to initiate.
Because also we like there's the added risk of like I'm the man, I could be assaulting you sexually somehow, and I don't want to be I don't want to be involved with that.
Yeah.
Whilst for the woman, I feel it's just embarrassing that the guy, you're like, oh really, okay, fine.
And it was my cousin. Like he suddenly turned religious. Between 2 Eids.
That is the most common one that ever happens. That's the one I hear about when women are describing to me that somebody that they're trying to shake hands with, and then suddenly they go no.
Someone have shook his hand before, and
then suddenly change.
I feel like it's very awkward when it comes to cousins, like especially from I think my dad's side of the family more. Like I remember growing up with them and just playing around in the streets and everything, and then suddenly I can't even shake their hands.
Is it when they reach a certain age, right? They reach a certain age, you can't do it.
It's like
it's such a new reality to you.
It's like you're my sister.
Wait, what are you guys saying? Like this whole time we were in this whole zone where we're all the same, and now we're not?
No, suddenly you're a husband prospect. Before your brother. It's so weird.
Like I hate this bullshit of cousins and whatever. Like
stop interbreeding, Annie.
خاصة if you've interacted with these people since you were a kid, and I don't look at you that way.
Yeah.
And sure, there are scenarios where they grow up together and then eventually they get married.
That's what I was gonna say. You never know.
With the world opening up and the internet and the World Wide Web and all that, guys are.
So I'll say it right now: stop spreading genetic defects.
Yes. I completely agree with you, man.
But that's the world around you guys. You're like the world is growing and it's growing around you. It's opening up around you. That's not everyone's experience.
Of course,
true.
No,
yeah,
that's true.
True. ولكن. We have to expect everyone to be like us because that's the proper way of proceeding through life. You can't just live in a bubble.
That's so self-centered.
I'm just saying, okay?
But
you're pretty self-centered.
Yeah, someone else is saying that you should be living to their woke level because you're not enlightened enough.
Well, no, it's not about enlightenment. It's about being. It's about breaking the shell, getting out of that shell, and you can't be closed-minded your whole life.
What if you don't know you're in a shell?
That's a good one.
How do you break out of something you can't see?
I have to agree with her on this one, and not as a joke. As real. Honestly, when I was in Saudi, I know not a lot of people that might be considered in a bubble or in a shell, and they're the nicest, most polite people you'll meet. They're very driven. They know what they want. They don't understand the world. They don't. They just your reality doesn't come into play. But their choices and the way they live are just as legitimate, unfortunately, if you want to have a real interaction.
It's disturbing to know that there are people living in Bahrain who get a culture shock when they leave their house.
What? You're being Alex Jones.
I know exactly what he's talking about.
What are you talking about? What
do you want me to
go for it.
Well,
don't give me like some weird psychological anomaly, like some guy that doesn't leave his room.
I'll give you a very basic example. I have cousins who are so sort of enclosed in their own communities.
Okay.
They barely, like, the furthest they're going to go is, like, somewhere in city center or the avenues.
Okay.
So when they hear about people who are more open-minded in Bahrain, it just does not register to them. So to them, these people are like infidels and evil and something.
What do you
kind
mean?
of
Like
thing.
True.
So yeah, go ahead.
You're describing bunker cultists.
You have to understand one thing about Bahrainis is that historically Bahrain is a bunch of villages.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of villages, and the village mentality has not escaped some villages.
Okay.
They stay within their area.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
they stay within their area. When I hear people talking about محرق, like مثلا عايش في بني جمرة في البداية or whatever, and he talks about محرق like it's a whole nother country.
Yeah.
Like, oh my
I
God,
noticed that.
المحرق الأكل غير والناس غير.
That was part of my culture shock. Like if you would get the free housing from the government, they'd still want it in their area. What? Medina Hamad? No way.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Exactly. See,
Like you're refusing free housing and making an issue out of it just because it's not in your area, quote unquote. Like all of Bahrain is one area.
So that's what I mean when I say there are people in Bahrain who get culture shock.
Yeah.
Bahrainis.
Yeah. That's really weird to me, the whole idea that it can be that isolated. But I'll believe it. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at this point.
Dignity.
I still have this culture shock every time I leave the house, but it's the other way around.
How did it hit you, the culture shock in Bahrain?
Okay, so it started with a really funny story. The first day I came here, my husband's like, he wasn't my husband at the time. He was like, I'll take you out for breakfast.
Right.
So we're passing by and I'm like, Amouche? He's like, Mawash. I just read it, Amouche. So anyways, while we were there, he's looking all like conspicuous and happy with himself. He's like, try this mahyawa. It's really good. Like, what is it? He's like, just try it. And he looked so proud of himself for like messing with me. Anyways, I tried it. I'm like, it's a little salty. And he goes, it's fish juice.
It is fish juice.
Is it considered fish juice?
No, it's not. It's like
fish paste,
dried
right?
fish.
It's dried fish paste.
But that's how he explained it. Sorry, I interrupted
Fish
you.
juice.
Yeah. And then a guy passes by with a falcon in his car. Yeah.
Oh, outside.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
outside.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening? And that was my first impression
like I'm eating
of
fish
Bahrain.
for breakfast, and there's a guy with a falcon. Outside.
Yeah.
By the way, fish for breakfast, not that uncommon. Let me just put it.
But I was shook.
Yeah, I can imagine that's considered like a very weird first experience of coming back here.
Yeah.
But Annie, where did you grow up specifically?
Muscat.
In Muscat, right?
Yeah.
So how many years did you live there compared to everywhere else?
Most of my life. I've only been out for maybe... I think if I accumulate my years out, they might be 3 or 4 of traveling.
3 or 4 of travel on your own. And the rest of your family is well traveled? You said your sisters...
Yeah. They're all well traveled. My dad studied abroad as well. My mom traveled for work.
Right, so you do have
normal.
Yeah, you have like a normal upbringing as a child where you were traveling as well, going around the same...
So I think if I went to the villages or qaras in Oman, I would have the same culture shock.
Yeah.
Because I forget that not everyone thinks the way we think because we're surrounded by the same kinds of people.
But Oman is a big country compared to Bahrain.
Yeah.
It's a big country to spread out. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Bahrain, it's shocking.
It is shocking.
Now, I want to settle one debate between Bahrain and Oman.
Go ahead.
Bahraini halwa or Omani halwa?
Oh.
Bahraini halwa, man. Sorry.
Age old.
I like Bahraini because it has more nuts.
All right.
My husband likes Omani though. I think the grass is greener on the other side. Yeah.
I think I prefer Omani as well.
Really?
I'm not sure why, but there's no specific
What about
reason.
you, Matruk?
Bahraini, definitely.
Oh, thanks, man.
Bahraini, definitely.
Nice one, man. Yeah.
I was going to say, do you think this rivalry has continued, Danny, since ancient times? Because you guys know that Bahrain and Oman are both one of the oldest cultures around.
And
in
I
this
think
region.
it's the same recipe, obviously.
Yeah.
You just have different additives.
Same thing. Always been multicultural, always diverse as far as the countries involved in these different bad places. And Oman used to have an empire, bro.
Yeah.
Oman, I think Oman for a period of time ruled Bahrain.
Yeah. Did they? No.
They
ruled
always-
parts of Africa and other... Yeah.
Africa and the GCC, but not Bahrain.
الحبش الحبشيين
Yeah, that's in Africa.
Ethiopians.
Yeah.
Was it Ethiopians?
Ethiopians.
Yeah, basically. What's it called? The Habash Empire. What's empire in Arabic?
Empire, Imbratoriya?
Imbratoriya, something like that. Whatever. You know what I mean?
Habashi.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Is it? But you know something about Oman. A lot of Omanis they're not very well versed in Arabic.
What do you mean?
In Arabic.
Yeah,
You're offending my Omani friend.
I'm not.
I think
Are you talking about Zanzibaris?
Yeah, that's what
probably.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
And those are people who are still moving or moving recently to Oman. We don't have the issue of them not being Omanis. We consider them as Omanis.
So
but
immigrants?
Not really, because Oman ruled parts of Tanzania.
Yeah.
And they helped us free Oman when we... I don't remember what year it was.
I mean, excuse my ignorance. I'm not very well versed in the history of Oman.
But we're assuming 1800s.
So Oman has people from different areas. So we have Baluchis from Baluchistan and I think a part of Iran. We have, I forgot, Lawati, who are the Shia in Oman. Right. And we have Zanjibaris, who, like you said, speak Swahili. And we have Omanis, which when the dam of, I think, Aden broke or something, they moved to Oman. So this was before everyone else. And I think we're very...
Because the reason I said, not well versed in Arabic, because I had an interaction with Omani pilots.
Yeah.
And I was like, Omani, بكلم بالعربي, I talked to him in Arabic, but he was not talking to me in Arabic. He was talking to me in English.
He was probably Zanjibari.
Probably.
And it's common for them to just live there, and when they grow up and look for jobs, they look for them in Oman.
But are you saying the relationship is actually at a is it at a foreign policy level? Like this is an agreement between the two countries?
No, I think it's just chill. So someone would come from Zanzibar and they can prove that their cousin is in Oman or their ancestors are in Oman.
Okay.
And they can live there. And then after a while, they're...
I love that it's just the declaration from immigration. It's just chill. The status is...
My cousin's right here.
Just like walking and say, hey, man.
Is it like naturalization?
That's what I'm asking. Like, is there an actual process, foreign policy wise? Is there something like you apply for immigration status wise, or is it just that if they come in the country and they can prove they have a relationship with somebody there, they can live indefinitely?
Ancestry, not just a relationship. So my grandfather was Omani. Yeah, okay. This is the record.
So there is like paperwork that they have to fill in. I thought they just showed up,
They do allow them to just show up and live there for a while. You don't have to be Omani to live in Oman.
This is what we should be sending the States about their Mexican problem. Just
that's how you do it.
Just show up. They're here.
So you said you worked for 2 years in... you said government.
Yeah.
More specifically.
Yes.
I worked.
Can you get into this?
Can we?
This is the really interesting part, guys, that I want to get into. So
I don't.
What's the limitation here?
I gave out my resignation, they told me not to mention it, and I'm not supposed to say where I worked in other countries.
Okay, so don't bring up that then.
Yeah.
Now I wanna make sure, because this is interesting content for us to have, guys. So let's make sure we get it on a very safe level, privacy speaking, right? So we'll get into your background on what you do specifically as your job description and how it was like there, and then we'll get into the satellite.
This is a very Bob Lazar moment.
Yeah, this is a very Bob Lazar moment, right? So explain to us this occupation specifically and how it ties into your software engineering.
I was just a developer for their website. So what they wanted to do is offer services to the employees. So you'd have the internet and then the internal network, and they were separated. They want to have a portal for the employees to check their salaries, apply for leaves. Basically like an HR system, but it had to be in-house. So that was the project. You're supposed to develop it. So each one of the team members would write part of the code. And I was responsible for the driving licenses.
Okay, all right. So not as in depth into the weird alien projects I was hoping you were into.
Yeah, so I was hoping for an Area 52 or something like that.
It's like the Omani version. Have you ever heard of anybody talking about aliens?
In Oman?
Yeah.
No. They talk about jinn.
But well, how can you tell the difference? Yeah, how would you?
Yeah.
Like
otherworldly creatures, basically.
Who's to say if
jinn are not otherworldly? They're supposed to be. What is it?
Maybe aliens are actually interdimensional. Like they're in the same world we live in.
What's the thing called in Stranger Things? The
Demogorgon?
The down below.
Yeah, the upside down.
The upside down. That's jinn, right? They're supposed to be like living in an upside down world.
Yeah, very good.
That's the idea of them. Yeah.
That's a nice.
Fucking Stranger Things stealing shit from us, man.
Well done.
I like that.
It's actually not. It's D&D takes the reference from actual like culture.
Yeah, D&D taking reference. It all roots back to Arabs, okay?
Yeah, it is actually because
Arab moment, right?
But that's the thing, in that you find jinn and all these other monsters in the thing, so that they're
like ghosts.
Yeah,
and,
they're
like different
representative.
versions of them.
Anyway, so yeah, they talk.
What I'm saying is, into you worked in the field of government and specifically in a defense field. Now, was this a branch of government where you could say that people would be chasing in the air unidentified objects?
No, but I personally believe there are aliens.
You think there are?
Yeah, I think the universe is too big for us to be the only ones.
Do you think the aliens are jinn?
No.
No. You think they're two separate ones?
I never said I think jinn are real.
But okay, interesting.
Do you believe in we were visited by aliens in on Earth, or
I think it's possible. Yeah, I think it is possible. Maybe we are the aliens.
Well, that's
one of my own favorite ones.
There's a huge debate saying that human life started out in Mars.
Yeah. There's some like
I wouldn't say Mars. I think somewhere further.
No, it was Mars. There's an interesting Lawrence. You know Lawrence Krauss?
Yeah.
He was talking about this, and if they actually, if you wanted to check that theory, you'd have to go to the North Pole.
Yeah.
Because there might have been some residue from Mars.
Some people are saying maybe there was a previous civilization before this one, like thousands of years ago, and that's why when they found the site in Göbekli Tepe, they're like, oh, it could be older.
That was Graham Hancock.
Yeah,
exactly. It's funny because the Mars theory came, like one of the explanations that humans suffer from back pain.
Why?
Lower back pain.
Because
they're not used to the gravity of Earth.
Yeah, we're actually from Mars, bro. What would you do if you found? What would you do if you found out that was real? Like our ancient Arab culture, everything that we know.
How would you find that it's real? There are theories, but
no. But I mean, like, what if they find like a ship? Like, let's assume you're a pollinating species of human that exists throughout the galaxy. You've pollinated Mars as a different individual colony, and then your colony goes to shit. You die, everything goes bad, and then you have to leave. Find yourself on Earth. What if you find the relic, like of an ancient, like ancient mothership?
I don't think they would believe it.
It's the site, like Earth. You find a wreck, an actual wreck of a ship, a mothership of humanity.
They wouldn't believe it.
There is some kind of a simple solution to this. I guess Dawkins was talking about this. He said if there is some kind of evidence that, for example, we came from Mars, or we found some evidence on Mars, then that just means that it's contagious.
What do you mean? Like humanity's contagious?
That DNA itself is contagious, and we might have been just spread out.
The universe is 13.8 billion years old, right?
Yeah.
And then
14.4.
Is it 14.4? Well, whatever,
Yes.
In hindsight, point whatever billion years is nothing. Anyways, so what I'm trying to say is
Polytechnic.
That's why they put in foundation.
Yes. Go ahead. It's not talking about your future in college.
There's not going to be evidence of human life in 1 billion or 2 billion years, because you know what they say, right? The sun is eventually going to expand to 60% of its mass, and its luminosity is going to hit Earth, and it's going to wipe everything on Earth.
Okay.
Earth is just going to be like Venus or whatever. If there is a colony of fifth dimensional human beings,
nobody's saying that though. Nobody's saying
you know what I mean. If there is a colony of alien life, and they look towards the solar system at that time, after Earth is wiped out, they're going to be like, okay, there's
nothing there. Well,
what do you mean? There's nothing. There's radio signals. There's
no. What he's saying, if they didn't look because of the time difference. Because of light years, so if they didn't look
when it was happening
to the Earth exactly at this moment, then they wouldn't see anything.
They wouldn't see it exploding. You mean?
Just like
they wouldn't see any evidence.
No, not exploding. Let's say you're an alien. Okay, you're just riding around the galaxy.
Oh, but see, that's
in 1 billion or 2 billion years time.
Hold up, that's not the most common prevalent theory though. The most common theories about how alien life would be like if we discovered it in the universe would be like they've existed for billions of years. So mathematically speaking, there should be a lot more alien encounters than we know. So you should be seeing a lot of traffic out there if they've existed for billions of years. Now, one of the things is they've actually accounted for the amount of time that the universe has had for all of the things we have right now to develop. They're saying if there was one empire, one race that managed to develop tech not so different from the one we have right now. So technologically speaking, they could fill the galaxy in every solar system with a star with a probe. That could feasibly have happened in a certain amount of time before we even came to be as humans. So there is this idea that there could be these satellites out there, these probes that exist in every solar system, and they're kind of being waiting to be found out. It's a book that the guy that did 2001: Space Odyssey, what's his name? Stanley Kubrick.
Arthur C. Clarke.
Arthur C. Clarke is the guy that wrote the book, and Stanley Kubrick did the movie based on it, and that's the idea that this monolith structure exists, and it's just waiting to reach out and contact us, but it's not going to. It's programmed based off of a certain criteria. If you hit maybe this technological level, whatever.
بس يعني
Bahrainis treat women better. I don't know. Some.
They're still violating HR protocols in Bahrain. Should we communicate? Not yet.
Wait another 3,000 years.
Billion years.
you know how they say that the speed of light is the speed limit of the universe?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was watching a documentary.
Who says that?
Einstein. Physics.
No, he's right. I mean, because
Okay.
it doesn't have any.
As far as we know.
As far as we know.
As far as we know.
Then,
Right.
There's a documentary I watched about black holes. And there's a huge black hole that sort of formed, and it let out all these gravitational waves.
Are you talking about the
and
giant
whatever.
ones at the center of the galaxy?
Not the center of the galaxy. It was like billions and billions of light years away.
Oh, okay.
And its gravitational waves reached Earth like 2 years ago,
Okay.
where they sensed gravity.
Well, yeah,
and that's how they got the theory that
The proof
gravity
in
is
their waves.
are waves.
Yeah.
not-
Yeah. And that's the whole idea, is that there's this theory where I think two black holes can actually collide, like
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
two different.
Yeah.
It's like two different galaxies will eventually collide because they're being pushed towards each other, and one of them is
they
faster.
bend space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're actually on a crash course with the Andromeda galaxy.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. That's the exact,
Andromeda.
I love that you do that. And like, the more you know, in the throat.
Bro, seriously, like people mock.
But no, that's
people mock me for not knowing shit
I
about
know. I
space, but
noticed that
do,
you know
okay?
stuff,
Just-
so I'm
You're
impressed.
smart.
I'm impressed.
You're smart man.
I'm giving you credit
Yeah, I
here.
just don't remember things. I don't process information very
Just
well.
the first
Same.
time we're actually
Okay.
admitting it on the podcast that you did something.
You know,
good.
I watch stuff. I just don't absorb information. Zayn?
All right. So we've established, and now we're a part of a greater galaxy, and there's life out there, and
Do
probably.
you guys believe that there is life out there?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I'm.
Whether it contacts us or not, I think that's.
I would be very surprised if there wasn't.
Mathematically speaking,
Yeah, the odds, yeah.
there's
What are the
a
odds?
huge chance. And you know how they say like something? Oh, it's a 1 in a 10 billion chance.
It's still a lot.
Given enough,
considering all the
given
galaxies,
enough
yeah.
time,
Yeah. But
it has to happen. Like
you know the
900
projected expectation at the moment from SETI and other, I think it was institutions, are saying that they expect to find proof of alien signals within the next 20 years.
Now we'll be alive.
Like, I mean, you finally see.
Oh, really? That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
that's the expectations. Like, within the next 20 years, the technology will have developed further enough or far enough to actually be able to detect whatever signals could be out there that prove that there's interstellar travel. Sorry, I slightly had Novocaine in my mouth.
Speaking of aliens and
travel.
whatever,
Go ahead, yeah.
what,
Go
what up? What up with this Area 51 storm?
I was waiting for someone to talk.
Well, some people should do this from here. We should. Yani, would you like? I don't know if you've worked on a military base. I'm looking at Wa'ad right now, asking her this question. But I'm assuming if you have, how smart do you think it is for people to just say like, "Hey, Facebook group, 500,000 people, event in September. We're gonna rush a military base to
Not
find
smart.
out."
Not smart.
Because I noticed countries put their national security above everything else, above people's lives.
Yeah.
It's funny because like even if it happens and people do go and storm out Area 51, they're gonna get massacred.
Just to
I don't
explain
think
to
they would.
And
just to frame it to people that are listening that don't know this, there is an actual Facebook event. Just going to frame this conversation. An actual Facebook event with 500,000 people signed up to it.
More
That in
now.
September, even more now apparently. I didn't even check this, But in September, they will rush Area 51, which is an actual military base that conducts tests on secret programs and flight and aerospace and all this other stuff. It has nothing to do with Bob Lazar's S4 with aliens in it.
Nothing to do. Yeah.
Different facility.
But don't you think that there's a coincidence there where the Bob Lazar documentary sort of came out around the same time?
No, they say that's the reason.
Oh, okay.
People are, that's
really?
That's what Joe Rogan went out on Instagram, and I have the quote here somewhere on my phone, where he says to people, "Don't do this."
Because he made an interview with him, and then this happened all the
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
that makes more
and
sense.
I want to show you this thing. This is hilarious. Where we go? Here we go. Joe Rogan on his Instagram. He says, "I have to comment on this Storm Area 51 thing. I do understand it was started as a joke by someone, but there are a number of people who are actually planning on showing up. This is a misguided idea. Area 51 is a classified research base. There are no aliens or alien technology located there."
He's so sure about it. He's so sure.
He wants to cover his bases legally, man.
I mean, he's doing the right thing.
The only place there was ever any alien technology was apparently at... He says, actually, it was at Site S4. So he's not even saying apparently. He's saying
very sure of that statement.
Yeah, he's sure of that one. South of Area 51
So
proper.
if you're gonna storm something, go to S4. Area 51.
No, he's saying that was 30 years ago. S4 may have moved decades ago, or it's possible to no longer being used for the project. I do not support this movement in any way. The last time someone tried to get into Area 51, he was shot.
لا بس man بقول لك I mean and if people actually storm it and they will shoot them.
Yeah.
They
I
will
don't
shoot
think
them.
they can shoot that many people.
But honestly,
That's what the event says, by the way.
Yeah.
It actually says
we
that.
all commit it.
It literally says hashtag Storm Area 51. They can't get all of us. Like, they can't shoot all of us.
Gonna shoot one person
I
or
think
two.
they'll use power, but not deadly power.
Honestly, I think, especially when it comes to social media, I think a lot of people are full of shit. So
Obviously.
do
No one's gonna show up?
you really think that a million people are going to show up?
Nah.
How many do you think would actually show up? Like, obviously not a million.
Probably 10,000.
You think 10,000? You know how many 10,000 people are?
It's a lot.
That's
Yeah,
like
but
a-
if there are that many people who signed up.
But have you heard about there's like this little report? I think it was, I don't know if it was BBC or some newscast, and they were doing interviews with those business owners that are around that area that have like bars and like shops and whatever, like the ones that are like alien themed, and some sort. And they're like, we're gonna invite people over, and we're gonna have parties and all of that. So it's hilarious that they're actually accommodating these people and all.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Sorry.
You guys are distracting me with that.
No, I'm looking at the time and letting them know what we're at.
It's funny because like even if they shoot people, they have a right to do it.
Yeah.
There are warnings.
But if 10,000 people show up, you're not going to be able to shoot them. You're going to have to bomb that place.
Yeah, but that'll be considered genocide at that point, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
that's how I feel.
I would just get the alien. If they have the alien spacecraft, I'd
They'd
just get it
move
out
them.
and then
Exactly.
I'd
They
like
have a warning.
I'll do a flyby and take them in the other direction.
Yeah, like they
Thank you.
just want evidence. Like if you just did that, they'd be like, okay, we just go home. I've seen enough.
That's it.
Guys, do you think the story is going to be relevant when you air this?
Yeah. We'll get this out before September. For sure.
Well,
for sure.
definitely. I can guarantee before September.
Before September. Don't worry about it. Right, so we went off track here for a very long conversation about aliens and bases.
Number
and,
3.
Yeah, and we did get into this topic because you did work for the government in a field that is probably defense related.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get as... I'm just trying to sit as... Tiptoey
It
as
was just
distant away from the
an
conversation.
IT for defense. That's
Yeah, you were IT for defense. Now, the question is, you mentioned this earlier in the show about IT and working in the job that you're working in right now.
Yeah.
You felt like there were people that might have given you the job with you not knowing whether you earned it or not, right? Whether you were qualified for the job. Do you feel like that's much more difficult in your specific occupation, or is it easier because in IT you know what you're good at, you know exactly what you're supposed to do, and whether you're doing a good job and a bad one?
I think with IT, employers just need to take a risk every time because regardless of what I studied or what programming languages I know, in 6 months they won't be relevant.
Yeah.
So there's always a learning curve at any new position, especially when it comes to IT.
So so basically your career is a constant exam.
This is the thing I always feel.
It's a constant fresh graduate feel.
This is the question, because I know people that I'm working with right now that are in the same field as you, and they constantly are learning new languages to code in and do other things. And I feel like that is a constant game for them that maybe doesn't exist in any other job, any other field.
Except medicine.
Except medicine, exactly.
Medicine.
But it's the same reason. It's because
And
of
aviation.
tech and, So, is it? No.
Not as often.
No.
Aviation, it doesn't change. It doesn't
keeping
change
up hours.
as much.
Yeah,
It
you're
doesn't
keeping up
change as much,
hours,
but you do get tested all the
Some
time.
new technology, Brad.
Yeah.
But that's different. This is they can go out of date very quickly. They can be irrelevant very quickly. So the job itself has a level of pressure attached to it from the get-go.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that is a manageable thing that you are able to pull off in this kind of a field, and you know where your skill set is at, or do you always question your skills, question your capability?
I do always question my skills. I haven't been working since I moved here. I'm doing my master's in the same field, and I feel because it's more research, I'm scared of going into job interviews and not knowing what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Is it how powerful do you feel knowing all these languages, knowing how computer systems work, computer software? Because computer engineers are in the States at least, they're one of the highest paid jobs. And shows like what's his name?
Silicon Valley?
iRobot. Right. I was gonna say iRobot, just the vast power that computer people have, the hacking and whatever.
Especially with artificial intelligence. It's really nice when everyone's scared of technology, that you understand what's happening.
Okay.
Or even when you get an error page on your browser.
Yeah.
It's nice that I know exactly where that code is written.
Right.
Without looking at it.
Do you is there any indication that we're going to start working with quantum computers anytime soon?
Before we get into this, right, I feel like this is an avenue of a lot of theory.
It's going to happen soon.
It is. I want to get us to that. Before I want to get into that, I said I wanted to ask you about sorry, what were we just saying? I lost it. What were we just saying?
I need to pee since you lost it.
We're talking about her knowing the language of computers.
Yes. Break?
I do.
All right, okay. Sorry, we're going to take a short break. All right, we're back into it. After a short break, everybody's managed to relieve themselves of all the pressure.
Did you?
I just mentally. I sent text out to my wife, and I know we're okay, and now I'm relieved. A completely different, soulful way. All right, so we were talking about tech and specifically your background in software engineering and everything that has everything to do with code, languages, and computers and stuff like that. And we wanted to talk about the scary stuff that's out there, how it relates to your job, what we've got into. But one of the questions I had is, as you just said, as somebody who designs software or has seen the process, understands it, studied it, you see stuff you know how to do yourself. That's no longer a mystery to you. It's kind of like the universe is revealed to you in your browser, everything else. Sure. Now, the question I have is you hear this from physicists who understand how the universe works, how momentum works, energy, and they get creeped out when they're in a car or in a plane because they really understand physics really well. They understand that. Sorry.
You went Medea there on
You heard me, right? I heard me. I lost my language there for a second. He understands it. But they understand it to a point that it scares them when they're in a car and they know momentum and how things impact.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that because you understand, the world of computing and how things spread and how things happen, are you more scared or you feel safer now that you know how the world works?
I'm less scared, but it's in a we're all gonna die anyway kind of way.
Very
Terminator.
So what if artificial intelligence takes over? So what if they have all of our pictures and information? What's the worst?
I don't think the first computers that are that smart will be able to convince us that they're godly. I feel like they're the first computers.
Unless it's already happened.
Well,
they're all going to kill us. That's for sure.
I believe in super intelligence will happen in the next 50 years.
It's happening.
Yeah, I know, but I think in the next 20 to 50 years we'll have the super intelligence, which is something I'm worried about. With all these big computers that are being built to access economies, and
it grows exponentially.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily artificial intelligence, as in it's AI. It understands, it thinks, it's aware. So I'm scared, and that we're gonna have the tech that can do things at a massive level.
The algorithm is there. They just need to combine it. Everything is already there.
Are you talking about for simulating intelligence?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, is it a kind of is the reason why it's not happening yet because of some kind of
It
morality
is
issue.
happening. You just don't know it's happening.
No, but I mean actual artificial, let's say, beings like the classic sci-fi AI robot
Yeah.
kind of thing. I'm almost certain that we have the technology to do that. At least a computer version of it.
Yeah.
But is the reason why it's not happening yet because of some kind of morality issue, or is
I
that
think
Philosophical question.
I thought the tech wasn't there for a true AI. I mean, actually self-aware, self-intelligent,
the awareness is a question. What is aware? But they learn and they better themselves and they do things. My sister just sent me today a whole song that was composed by artificial intelligence. It was classical music, and I thought it was classical music. It sounded like classical music. But anyways, I don't think robots with artificial intelligence are there because we don't need them.
right.
Like, you already have Siri. You can tell Alexa to do stuff for you, and it recommends better songs. You see what's happening on Netflix. That's what you see as the average user. Imagine what governments have
Yeah, but,
access to.
I
But
see
the
what you
scary
mean.
part is when Alexa realizes you're using her as a housemaid, as a slave, essentially.
I don't know
When they
that's
start
where...
communicating with each other.
Listen,
Yes.
I don't know that's where we're at as far as like an actual AI and a thinking kind of like feels like revenge is my thing right now kind of AI.
Yeah, that's what I don't know. They still can't make their
Yeah.
own. They can make their own decisions
Now,
to an
it
extent.
scares me because I read this book. It's called Super Intelligence by Nick Bostrom, I think it was called. The author was, and he just goes into detail on the different kinds of AI that could be, explosive, changes our entire culture, changes our belief systems, changes our abilities, and even maybe dangerous for us. And one of the things he goes is like there's general AI, there's like different kinds of AI, like AI systems, and whether or not it's one AI, whether it's a hooked up system, and the one that they're scared about the most, which is what the different countries are on the cusp of developing right now, is a general super intelligence that is a computer that doesn't necessarily think for itself or do anything for itself, but it has so much computing power that to crunch problems, it will solve problems without us realizing how it's doing it.
Okay.
Do you know, like it'll just be like, hey, just cut the birth by like 30% in Japan.
Okay, yeah.
Why in Japan? Just do it.
Let's do it.
They don't need it.
I know
They
what
need
I'm
more
doing.
people, in fact.
Yeah.
Question: I don't know if any of you guys know this, but has any kind of machine or any kind of any kind of technology passed the Turing test yet?
Well,
at this
the ones
point?
that manage to, you mean fake and people? Yeah, there are bots that can simulate a discussion, and some people have been fooled.
Okay.
But does it actually like withstand rigorous scientific testing? I don't think so. No, just fools people. Like I've had people on. Have you seen those robocalls on John Oliver's
Yeah,
show?
Oh yeah.
They're really creepy. The ones that phone and they're like, "Hi, how are you?" This
And
is
the Google
AT&T."
assistants,
The whole
Yeah,
issue
it's
in
like,
the US, yeah.
are you a machine? Are you a robot? What? It's like, are you a robocaller? Can you tell me that I'm not? Can you just say the line, "I'm not a robot"? Can you say that? I'm a person. It's literally just a robot on a freaking
I think
call.
they can say I'm not a robot, but yeah, maybe they're not. Maybe they're not passing it on purpose.
Maybe. Yeah.
Scheme.
I just feel like they have all
lizard
of this.
people.
That like think of what happened with the U.S. elections.
Yeah.
That they fed off the people's fears, and then they were showing you exactly what you're afraid of, like immigration, decline in economy, and then that's what was used for Trump to win. That fear was all artificial intelligence. They gathered information. Not people studied what the Americans are afraid of. Artificial intelligence is what gave them the results. Data mining.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it used it to generate fake news on a very large scale, and that's all machines as well.
But
we still have to give
that
some
is
commands.
a targeted program, though. That's by a government entity that wants to accomplish a goal and see if they can pull it off.
Supposedly,
Yeah,
yeah.
supposedly. Now they can't prove that it was that big of a deal, and some people even say it wasn't that big of an attack or that big of an attempt, and that this stuff happens all the time. Like apparently,
Yeah, but it showed you what it's capable of.
yeah.
It can change our beliefs.
No, I agree with you there, but I do know that the governments are always, all the time, testing people's defense structures, their systems, the companies. They're always like, even just Xbox, they're continuously being assailed by a stream of potential security intrusions that are trying to test the system, see if they can get in. Now hold on. This is a part of a government system. Now, you brought it up in the elections. You said in Annie that was also a topic used to scare people. One of the topics that was used kind of as a debate platform, although it wasn't that big of a topic, it should have been, in my opinion, was jobs replace machine learning or computers and robots replacing people in jobs.
And you think that's an important discussion?
I actually do. I think for the economy, it's a big deal if people are going to lose jobs quietly, and they're everyday jobs. They're like truck drivers, and then these truck drivers are a big swath of the population that ends up voting for somebody like a Trump, somebody that is much more identitarian, much more America first, and that situation scares me.
I've been following this argument with robots replacing humans in the aviation field.
Yeah,
with drones or whatever. But drones, there's still a pilot controlling them on the ground. And there's a video of a robot landing an airplane in a simulator.
Yeah,
and there's an argument that it's safer.
Yeah, but their biggest argument, one which I agree with, their counter argument rather, is that you cannot program survival instinct in a robot.
True.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing that's happening with the self-driving cars.
Well, they have to have somebody in the driver's seat.
Yeah,
no matter what.
But I think the whole issue with planes specifically, I heard this from a cousin of mine who works in Gulf Air, and he says that there is a more advanced technology in airplanes that you don't even have to do that much in the plane to land it, but because the people on the plane are worried and they need to see someone in the driving seat.
Okay.
They have to put someone there.
But you wouldn't know if they were.
With airplanes, there is a capability called auto land.
Yeah.
Okay, it's existed since the 70s.
Yeah.
But you need someone in case something happens.
And a lot of people, and planes nowadays are very, very automated. And the pilot, the most critical part of being a pilot is during takeoff and landing.
Yeah.
And then, other than that, they're just monitoring the instruments. That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
Very
But
automated.
you don't think there are a bunch of jobs out there that are getting I remember the most recent one. I don't remember which show I saw it in or not, but there was somebody that was talking about a plant that Trump was basically saying, "Oh, look, I'm keeping the jobs. This company." Oh, I think it was Carrier. Yeah, Carrier, the AC company. Yeah. And they were like, "Oh, they're keeping the jobs here, the factory. They're going to be doing more things. They're going to get big news." And he saved the factory apparently from going to Mexico and other countries. And then the company was like, "Oh yeah, we're keeping the plant in the U.S. It's staying here. We're not moving it. But by the way, we're getting robots, so you're still fired." And it was literally like people are like, "Oh, what? We're staying in the we're keeping it because it's cheaper to get machines to do your jobs, and you're not actually saved. The plant is saved.
In the case,
you're gone.
In the case of, for example, McDonald's, you're seeing a lot more
I saw those in Europe.
The touchscreen.
I saw those.
They're even being implemented in Bahrain in certain locations.
So here's why I brought this up, because you're somebody that works in tech, and recently there was this.
I don't think it matters.
Even in your own economy, do you feel like the jobs will become naturally replaced?
Because I think that's part of evolution. Like, how many people work at a printing press today? How many people?
3 guys.
That's what I'm saying. It's been happening since the Industrial Revolution.
Yes.
We're replacing people with machines, and it's bound to happen, and it's supposed to free us for better things.
That is true. I agree with you on the side of tech that it has to advance no matter what. It has to progress.
There's going to be some collateral damage, the people who are not willing to learn new things.
So you say #learn to code. Is what you're saying? Is that what you're saying, everybody?
This statement is very, very biased.
Why is that?
No matter
I can't learn
matter
to code.
how much robot, like you're a computer software engineer.
Yeah.
For you, jobs being replaced by robots is a good thing because you'll always have a job.
Because no one's gonna call you, and the answer is turn your PC off and back on.
Is that an IT
a lot of people?
It's the first thing they teach.
A lot of people would say that is like a high position to be in. You get off your high horse. You're elitist if you say learn to code.
No, but it happened. I'm not saying learn to code. You said learn to code.
I know.
Don't put words in my mouth. I'm saying it happened with farmers. It happened with.
But we did see World War I happen because of the Industrial Revolution, because people didn't have jobs. It was the whole reason communism became popular, is because industrialization comes in, takes away all these jobs, replaces people with machines, and obviously we survive. Okay. The economy does move on. It does translate to a new economy.
Look, I'm not saying it's not a big deal. I'm saying it's bound to happen.
Yeah.
We need to learn from our history.
Yeah.
Us having less of our typical jobs is bound to happen. I think that means that we have a responsibility as humans to better the conditions of people without them having those typical jobs.
Yeah.
So even if you're not someone who's taking the order at McDonald's, you shouldn't be starving. We should live in a society that takes care of their own as they advance.
Yeah.
So it's not communism, but I feel like instead of tackling the issue, let's not advance because we don't want to replace people.
Yeah.
It should be, how can we make everyone's life better while advancing?
So would you say that this is a good opportunity? Because whenever I see a vacuum where something changes, like a power structure changes or a hierarchy changes and a new one is formed, usually it's an opportunity for like disparaged groups or minorities to kind of move up in the chain of the food chain or whatever and have a good position. I would say if you look at the economy in Bahrain and around the Gulf and you see it going more and more towards a tech economy, is this an opportunity for women in the Middle East to kind of jump in whilst this is still young? It's still a field that maybe isn't completely populated by one kind of source of power, one gender. Do you feel like it is?
Unfortunately, I don't feel like that's the case in GCC. I feel like we don't have enough awareness to put human life first. It's very machine-like.
Right.
This is what should happen. This is the outcome. And that's why people are scared of change, because they know this as it is. And they don't know if someone is going to have their back.
Yeah.
If they needed to take 2 years to train for something new and then get a job. Like, what's going to happen to you at that time?
Well, what about like girls in Bahrain compared to, let's say, Oman compared to Saudi? Who would be more driven? Like, I've seen a lot of driven Saudi girls that would want to transfer to a new economy, a tech economy, and they're jumping on the bandwagon of all these different events that are happening in Saudi, initiatives and economic events and all this stuff. So even from the side of tech, people have been showcasing, they brought that robot chick, whatever her name is in Saudi, the freaky, creepy one. Right?
The uncanny valley.
The
one with half a face.
Yeah, the one that tweets out. She's really weird. Has looks like a Stepford wife just made out of like
weird.
Borg parts. But if you were talking to a girl that is growing up in a place like Saudi or Bahrain, and they're going through that, and they see a new bubble, maybe not even a bubble, but a tech economy, a new tech giant thing is moving towards in the distance. Would you be like, hey, yeah, jump on board, get into the sciences, get into engineering, get into tech because you have a future where you can dominate? Do you feel like that's a thing that could be happening in the Gulf, but not necessarily for every country?
I feel like maybe they need to know that that they're accepted in that circle without feeling the pressure that they have to be in a STEM field to have a bright future. I feel like we all deserve a good life, like a decent life. And it shouldn't be because you have a software engineering degree. You should be in whichever field you want to be.
But it's a powerful field to be. Very powerful.
He wants to hear you say.
I want to switch majors now.
He does. You still have a chance to. You should, if you want to keep up with the.
But I do. Yeah. I mean, what you were saying.
I'm totally with everyone learning how to code. If they want to.
Then here's a good question as well. Who do you feel like everybody should? In the future, would everybody have to know some code or some language?
Would it be an advantage?
Yeah, a few years ago, not that many people spoke English, and we had to learn to survive. So maybe that's going to be the language of the future. It's the language of space. So even Chinese astronauts have to learn English. It's the language of the sea, the space, the air. So maybe if coding gets there, we need to learn. We all need to learn.
It becomes standardized, basically.
Yeah.
I'd be up for that. I feel like kids could easily grasp it.
Absolutely.
One generation.
Add a class
in school.
Do
we already have stuff like that in Bahrain, or is it not mandatory?
It's definitely not mandatory, but I don't know. I think maybe in high school.
For me, computer class was not. I took computer science. As a GCSE. But that's about it. They didn't really focus on computing.
Yeah, I mean, computer classes in generally in Bahrain.
Do you guys
high
still have a
schools.
typing class? We used to have typing.
That was
a whole class.
That was in computer class.
Yeah,
Computer class
just
was
type.
basically you learn how to
Word.
use
Yeah.
Word,
Excel.
Excel,
PowerPoint.
Microsoft Office, basically.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, basically Microsoft.
Yeah.
Which is bullshit.
Not even Photoshop.
Yeah,
Do they still have classes like that where they just...
I think so.
No.
I think
Bro,
so.
there's
they have IT
that-
classes, but
Yeah.
they're like more theoretical. Like they don't teach you coding.
There's courses outside of high school where they teach you how to use Microsoft
But
Office.
but that is crap
Yeah.
though. That like it feels like for kids these days, especially the newer generations, are used to actually doing it without it. So
Yeah, man, little kids running around with their iPads and their
All
tablets
the new
and
things
whatever.
Well, I don't want to take up more, so we need to start wrapping it up. We have been almost at an hour, and I think it was like 40 now.
Yeah.
40 minutes into it. So I wanted to say last word, since we were talking about kids and tech and the Gulf, and you feeling like it shouldn't matter that people should be afraid of losing their jobs. Have you quoted as saying that?
It's the circle of life.
It is the circle of life.
It's evolution.
Hopefully, we managed to survive this bump without too much difficulty. Now, would you, if you had the power, here's the final question. If you had the power to force everybody in Bahrain to learn the code, would you?
No.
You would not.
I would just make them miserable. It's like saying everyone should learn how to
Just
audit
nag.
or
Tell them,
everyone.
yeah.
Yeah. Why?
This ain't communist Russia, man.
No,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I want to see what you do with total power.
I'm not good with money. My husband is. I'm good with computers. He isn't. Like, we all have a role.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Fair
one.
enough.
That's a good one to leave it at. All right, so do you want to plug once more your social media or any events that are upcoming that you want to share to the public? or anything?
You just took them at the beginning. It's at Challenge Robot. I think 89 on Instagram. And without the 89 on Twitter, or maybe it's the same.
All right, just look for tribal variations.
Robot.
Challenged Robot.
A funny thing is, when I made the username, I felt like I'm challenged when it comes to socializing and dealing with people. And
You don't seem like that at all.
No,
thank you.
Not at all.
I'm passing as a normal person.
An hour and 40 minutes, that's pretty impressive. That's the
pretty good.
longest we've
That's
ever
one of the
done,
longest
yeah.
in the recent times. So well done on that. We enjoyed it. Honestly, I enjoyed it a lot. We went all over the place. Didn't plan as much for this one. We had a very good
I
stream
had a
of...
loose outline, but we went all over
Yeah,
the
we
place.
did.
Yeah.
We did.
We covered a lot of.
I feel like it was relevant as well.
Improv.
Yeah,
We didn't talk about kittens or puppies or gender
not
roles,
this
but
time.
it's fine.
Not this time.
Or traffic or littering.
Maybe next time. Maybe after OJ leaves, we could have you on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, guys, I'm unemployed.
We can
so
have a whole conversation, a whole episode about genders.
Did we
gender
announce
pronouns.
that OJ is leaving? By the way,
We
Last
have.
time
we have,
Yeah, we
okay.
did. Yeah, we did. So this is going to be the last podcast for you, huh?
Probably, yeah.
Probably. All right. So
Yeah.
everybody, this is a send off to OJ. We're
Crying.
going to be making a special episode with him on Skype at one point.
Oh, absolutely.
add
Please.
sad
Love
music.
Yes. Very sad. I'm going to insert sad violin music here.
Khaliji.
Right here. Right here.
Right here. Okay, no worries.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening, for staying tuned with this podcast at an hour and 40 minutes now. We've enjoyed it a lot. All kinds of topics to be had. Stay tuned for more in the future with Wa'ad Al Saeedi. That's it. So make sure to follow the rest of the gang also on social media. Guys, you want to plug yours?
It's ahmedalmatrouk.57 on Instagram.
OJ?
It's mo.sultans with a Z in the end on Instagram. And what was it? I don't remember my Twitter. I think it was Mo on film.
Nobody follows you
Yeah,
on
it is
Twitter.
Mon.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's
Yeah.
on Twitter for
No,
you.
yeah. Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you. This is Bedouin Banter. I'm Khalid Dosari. I'll see you next time. Hopefully, enjoyed this. Be right back. I don't know. Just we'll edit it there.